I'm Russ Kickle and welcome to another episode of American Reef. Today's episode is going to be short and to the point. I've got 2 skimmers, 1 cup of skimmate, and about an hour. I'm going to dump this in a tank, put these 2 skimmers in it side by side. We're going to come back in an hour and we're going to let the skimmers do the talking. So let's take a quick second and talk about what I was fiddling with. Number one, on the Reef Octopus, basically all I did was I adjust the height of the skimmer, and I don't know the exact height where it needs to be. What I did is I placed it at the bottom here because that's where it kind of looked and felt like it was the right place to go, meaning that with the skimmers that I've had before, I'd have it at the bottom, and we'll be able to find out basically, with this particular skimmer, if, the height was kind of too liquid or not by the color of the skimmate that we pull out of here, right? Because if it's too clear, then we know we'll have to basically kind of tone it down a little bit. For the Tunze, again, all I really did was where the water actually leaves or exits the unit, what I ended up doing was had to make sure that the actual frame that held that filter sock, which kind of gets those micro bubbles, that it was on there right, because it was a little bit loose and for me to put it in here. So as you can see, other than that, there's no adjustment on the Tunze except for the air, right? There's an air adjustment here, but other than that, you don't really have the same kind of up and down adjustments as you have over here. So with that being said, what we're going to do is, well, let's do a couple things first. Let's take the skimmate that we produced so far, dump it back in. So basically all the skimmers are to the point where, again, the cups are empty. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and again, it's just skimmate from another skimmer that I've got going on one of my other tanks. I'm going to put it in the water, and we're going to see all kind of action take place, right? One thing to keep in mind, I do have a power head right in the back here. That way I'm just pushing it out that way, kind of mixing it up, so that way it's kind of a fair comparison. As far as, so basically it's stirring the water, and one cup is kind of not getting more of the skimmate than another. And you can kind of see here, right, just putting it in, the skimmers are going a little bit crazy now. Which that's really the plan, right? Let's just dump it all. Let's see what happens here. So let's talk about what I did, right? Threw that skimmate in there and the skimmers go crazy, which would make sense. So what I did on the Reef Octopus, just used the traditional valve to control the pressure in the chamber. And from now it looks like it's frothing up to the top, kind of fluctuates. I think it's tuned in about as best as it's going to be, especially when you dump the you dump the skimmate in there, but my goal is to kind of get a drier or a darker skimmate coming out of there, not diluted. For this one on the side, again for the Tunze, same kind of thing. There's a little bit of adjustment you can play here. You can go up and down with the tube, which will adjust that pressure, and you can also adjust the amount of air that's going in there. So for me, I just, again, turn the air down a little bit so it's not overflowing. Now when you look at it again, it's up to the top, but it's not flowing over. So I think at this point, these are probably tuned to right about where I would expect, I can kind of get the best performance out of them. So while we wait for the skimmers to do their thing, let's go over some of the specs. The bigger skimmer is a Super Reef Octopus 200int. It cost about $410. It's rated up to, I think, for tanks for about 180 gallons. And it's going to draw somewhere in the neighborhood of about 30 watts of power. The Tunze dock skimmer is the 9410. It costs about $345. It's rated for tanks of up to about 264 gallons. And it's going to draw somewhere in the neighborhood of about 15 watts of power. Again, you can get specifics, all those manufacturer kind of details from the manufacturer website. For me, I just wanted to do, a simple, quick test. Nothing fancy per se, meaning these skimmers aren't broken in, and there was just nothing special about it. I just wanted to compare the two because I believe that, again, we're going to see better results out of the Tunze. It's got a smaller footprint, lighter on the pocketbook, and overall I believe it to be a better skimmer. And this is just one way to kind of look at it and either prove or disprove that theory. So we're going to let this thing run, see what kind of results we get. What I will do now, I originally wanted to go for about an hour, but I think that I'm going to need more than an hour, and it's actually somewhere around the neighborhood of around 9 o'clock at night. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sign off for the evening, and then when we come back, it'll be morning my time, and we'll take a look at it and see, again, how the skimmers are doing and what kind of results we got. Okay, so it's been, 16-ish hours, and as you can see, the skimmers have finally settled down a little bit. Both have skimmed wet, as I would expect. Remember, because I had to adjust them yesterday so it wouldn't keep overflowing, because when I threw that skimmate in there, obviously things went haywire. So now let's see if we can pull any more of these dissolved organics out by kind of tuning these a little bit better. Meaning what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the airline right here, and now instead of restricting the air, we're going to let it fly, right? We're going to open it up all the way. And we can, when you do that, you can kind of see again the pressure. Now there's a lot more air bubbles going into this chamber, and ultimately it kind of lowered, right, the height of the kind of the bubble from there. So we'll just kind of let that go. And on this one here, we could probably raise it a little more, but I don't think it's going to do much, meaning I don't want it to overflow again. So let's let this run for, again, maybe a half hour to an hour. We're going to see if basically by adding more oxygen or air into the chamber, if that changes over here. I don't expect it to, meaning that you can kind of see the density of the bubbles. And like for me, when you get that frothing, again, that kind of where the proteins are stuck to the outside, and it's almost kind of like gluten, like on pizza, for example, that bubble, right, where it kind of wants to stick together. I don't see that happening here. So it may be that, again, with these two skimmers, that basically that's all we're going to get out of this. And if that's the case, what we'll do is we'll dump a little more in here, and we won't do skimmate this time. We'll actually just dump some food, and we'll see, again, kind of the byproducts. Again, it is fresh water, so I didn't expect it to be too dirty. And you can see from, again, from a skimmate production side of it, they pulled out approximately the same. This and maybe a little more on the Reef Octopus, because it looks like this, again, the cup is a little bit bigger, and so again, you can see a little bit more going up there. But again, roughly, I think that's probably equivalent to what I dumped in here. So again, let's give it half hour so to see if anything changes. If not, we'll dump some food in here and we'll see if that changes the equation. So it's been about an hour approximately, and I don't see a whole lot of change here. So what we're going to do now is let's empty the skimmate, right, and let's do a quick check just to see how much was actually pulled out of each skimmer. And again, when you look at it, I don't put a whole lot of weight to this because, it depends on how you adjust, right? But just for my knowledge, just wanted to see how much each skimmer kind of pulled out. There you go. Okay, so you can see for this one here, close to the top, right? And again, kind of tea, and again, like I said, I would expect probably the same out of the other one, and if not, it's really not saying much, meaning, again, we just threw skimmate in here, so how we adjusted it, that could affect, you know, the quantity. For me, though, it's one of those things where I wanted to kind of see the comparison, at least as far as looks, right? And again, I go back to it really depends on how it's kind of set up. So you can see this one's got a little less, it may be a little bit darker, for example. But again, I would say that probably, again, for the most part, they're comparable, right? So now let's put the lids back on and let's try one other thing. I have a coral food that accidentally I let go, got bad, that kind of thing. And so I've got 150 ml of this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit at a time in here and see what happens to the skimmers, and if it doesn't go too crazy, what we're going to do is we are going to dump it all in here and just see if both of them kind of pull it out and what it looks like. Again, you can kind of see on the collection cup over here are the bubbles. I might have to adjust this down a little bit. The same thing might happen as we did before, but let's just kind of see what happens. I'll put a little bit there, little there. Let's just see if the skimmers kind of go crazy. Yeah, see, this one's starting to go crazy already, so let's adjust that one down just a little bit. And now with the Tunze, you can kind of see it's not necessarily going crazy. And one of the interesting things about the Tunze is what they say is ultimately you don't have to fiddle with it. Like for this one here, you notice how we kind of fiddle it around a little bit because you've got bubbles going up and down. So for this particular unit, that's one of the things that we shouldn't have to do. So again, now that we got that down, let's adjust that up a little bit. And let's just dump some more of this in here too. Here, we'll put it right in front of that one. Back here. And again, I want to raise this up just a little bit. And again, you can see how this skimmer here is starting to foam. Or I should say the foam is starting to rise. Same as it happened over here. Although this one is under actually more control, meaning it's not, the cup, excuse me, is not overflowing. Let's go back to here. Let's adjust this up a little more. There we go. You can already see basically on the foam production for both of them. They're actually getting a little bit brown. Okay, so we want to adjust that probably right about there. There you go, perfect. So it's close to the top, but it's not overflowing. And we'll do the same thing on that one there. Here, let's take and actually clean this out, put more waste. Okay. And again, what we'll do now, they look to be adjusted about right. This one here, we might have to take it down just a little because it's starting to overflow too much. There we go. Okay, so again, we got 150 ml of, we'll call it dirt, right? Dissolved organics, proteins, whatever you want to call it. You know, to me it was just a product that gone bad, so why not try it and see how these skimmers actually pull it out. So I think at this point what we'll do is we'll let them run for a couple hours. Again, what we'll do is we'll do a time lapse so you can kind of see what happens here, and I'll also get some video of what that foam actually looks like inside the cups. So not much has happened in an hour, right? You can kind of see the foams kind of went up and down, things of that nature, but we don't see a lot of skimmate actually being forming in the cup. Why is that? Is that because they're defective? No. Realistically, most skimmers need some sort of break-in period, right? A week to 2 weeks, that sort of thing, before they can actually start really producing good skimmate. So to that point, rather than waiting another hour, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this tank here with these two skimmers, and we're going to let them run for a week or 2 weeks, and we're just going to see how long it takes to kind of break these skimmers in. And again, from my end of it, it's one of those things where this is kind of a work in progress. So let's see where this takes us, and I'll see you in about a week or two. So it's been roughly 20-ish hours, and this is a surprise, right? Meaning I kind of figured that things would settle down a little bit, sort of like this particular skimmer here. Again, we had adjusted it, we threw things in, and we saw all that kind of wildness that was happening. And so I expected this one to actually be like that, but this Tunze over here, it has that self kind of tuning to it, so you can kind of see, again, it's still pumping it up here as, again, like nothing has changed. As far as the skimmate production, again, we know we're still going through that break-in period. This has a little bit, let's just kind of take it out of here so you can kind of get a feel for what it looks like. And again, since we're talking about, there you go. Since we are talking about skimmers that are still trying to go through their break-in, I don't pay that much importance to this, but just give you an idea of what it took out, right? And what it kind of looks like. And obviously it hasn't been taken out much now, just because, again, it kind of settled down. And just take a quick look at this one here. And I'll have to empty these out of here, obviously, because I don't want to put them back into the actual tank just yet. I'm trying to do this so it doesn't spill everywhere, right? There, just give you an idea what we got going here. And again, you can see it's more of a T kind of thing, and a lot of the thick stuff kind of settled at the bottom as well. I'll give you an idea of, again, what that pulled off. So what I believe I'm going to do now is I am going to take and adjust the skimmers accordingly. Actually, I'm not going to adjust the Tunze, but I'll adjust the Reef Octopus because we want to see, we can tell the water's still very cloudy, right? It's still kind of brown. And there we go. That gives you an idea as well here. Like again, you can kind of see the thickness there. So what we'll do is after we adjust it, then we're going to let it run for another 24 hours. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take advantage of the kind of filter sock on this Tunze, and we're going to just dump some ROX in there to see what it does as far as that yellowing of the water, that sort of thing. See if it really kind of cleans it out as well. So let's kind of adjust this one first here. We'll adjust it up. And then after we kind of get this thing adjusted up, like I said, we'll come back somewhere in the neighborhood of 24 to 48 hours. See if this water is any clear. You can kind of see again the, you know, the brown, like the particulates are in the bag, for example, that you know, basically came out of the skimmer, came up from here as well. So there we go. So again, that gives us a little closer to where I would expect at least some better skimmate would kind of be produced. So here, let's dump this one out before I forget. And again, we'll come back in another 24 to 48 hours. And we will see how the skimmers did. Okay, so it's been like 3 days, right? And already you can kind of see we had the tank itself. Basically, we had evaporation take place. When that evaporation took place, notice this particular skimmer, right, the Reef Octopus, again, needs manually adjusted again. Now, the claim to fame, so to speak, on the Tunze, it's an automatic adjustment. And when you look here, you can see it does that, right? Meaning that the air bubbles, right, are right at the bottom of the collection cup, which is where normally I kind of like when I was tuning them in, for example, when I was tuning this one in, you know, with the Reef Octopus, I would take and put the bubbles at the bottom of that collection cup. So that's really a cool kind of thing. As far as skimmate production, they both kind of got about the same. You know, you look at it and it's both kind of like of a light tea and things have settled down. But the water in general, when you look at it, is still, I don't know, I look at it and I see kind of a brownness to it. So one of the really interesting things that I like about this Tunze is it has this filter sock over here. Now the filter sock is meant to do two things. Number one, it's supposed to collect those little micro bubbles so you don't have them kind of floating around in the tank. But the other thing you can do is you can put your mechanical filtration in there. So you can put your carbon in there, for example, even your GFO. So I think in here what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump some GFO and carbon in there, and we're going to see how it, you know, how good it works, if it actually kind of clarifies the water a little bit, and from there we'll probably wrap it up. So as you probably know by the products around the set, so to speak, I'm a real fan of the Bulk Reef Supply carbon. And again, you can put any carbon in this sock. It really doesn't matter. One of the reasons why I do prefer like the ROX, for example, is I hardly even rinse it, right? Meaning that if I put it through a media reactor, what I will do is I'll take the first kind of cup, we'll say, you know, of the effluent that comes out of the media reactor, and I'll dump it, or sometimes I'll just let it go through there. And to that point, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the ROX and we're going to dump it down here. We're going to see if it actually clarifies this at all. Yeah, so as you can kind of see, right, it's not perfectly clean, right? You kind of see this, you know, the dark kind of carbon look that went through the water. So that's why normally, again, when you have a media reactor, it saves a little bit as far as having to put your organisms kind of through that charcoal mess. That said, though, what will happen is these skimmers will actually kind of skim those particles out as well. So I think what we'll do now is, again, we will adjust this Reef Octopus up back to where it was, and then we are going to let it run for another, probably 24-ish hours. And at that point, we will come back and we'll kind of wrap it up and, again, see what the carbon did and see how these skimmers are doing. Well, another 48 hours-ish has passed, and we can kind of see some of the results, right? Now we're looking at the water in the tank since we added the actual carbon into this, sock that's coming off of the Tunze. It actually cleaned the water up pretty good. It's nice and clear. As we can tell, again, from the Reef Octopus skimmer, basically the whole adjusting thing kind of got out of whack just a little bit, right? So it means it's down a little bit lower now. But as we look through kind of the cup, etc., we can see all the carbon fines, right? That since I didn't rinse it out. And with the Tunze, we can see, again, it's still skimming relatively high. It looks like it's skimming wetter, obviously, because we can see this collection cup here has a good bit of skimmate, whereas this one here, again, has been a little less. When we look at it, if we kind of take off the top, we can see, again, inside the cup itself. Here we can lift it up. We can kind of see, let's see here, give me something to mix it up with. You can see it actually inside there where those fines have collected in the bottom of the cup as opposed to on the neck. We'll just kind of zoom in a little bit there. And let's just take this skimmate and let's just drop it in here to see what we're looking like. There you go. Again, not a whole lot of brown tea-like kind of stuff, but you can kind of see the carbon fines and what it did. So obviously the Tunze is a wetter skimmer. And we'll check out the Reef Octopus here just in a second. Okay, if we look at the Reef Octopus, we can kind of see the top. Again, all those carbon fines are up there. Again, if we look actually in the collection cup itself, we can kind of see again how it collected inside the actual chamber here. And so we'll put the collection cup back on. And again, that should probably be about enough as far as these two skimmers go. Again, the idea for me was a lot of times, when you're trying to decide on a skimmer, you kind of hear things, but you don't physically get to see. You just get to see, if you go to YouTube, you'll see some frothing kind of thing. But you don't kind of see the various kind of stages and put things in perspective, like comparing the two. So to me, again, this video is just meant for you to come up with your own kind of opinions on what works for you. My general opinion is it's like that hair commercial. Ours does what theirs does for less. Well, to me, that's what the Tunze does, meaning it's less footprint, less cost, less power, less everything, and they seem to skim probably about the same. I think the Tunze will have less tuning, obviously, right? You have more manual tuning over here, and it also gives you this kind of filter sock so you can put your media in that high flow area. So again, that's kind of a positive on my end as well. Speaking of that less kind of mindset, Tunze actually just came out, or is coming out, with a brand new wee little nano skimmer kind of thing. And if you give me a few minutes here, what I'll do is I'm going to take, and I've got it set up on my Gorgonian tank, what I'll do is I'll take it off there, bring it over here, and give you a look at that as well. So again, so you can kind of compare the sizes and to see what works for you in your particular situation. So here's this little guy, right? I think the official name for this one is the 9001. When you look at it, I think capacity-wise, it will go up to 5 to like 35, 37-ish gallon tanks. I believe for SPS kind of corals, it's going to be somewhere in the middle there as far as what it can house. But again, to give you a perspective on size, right? Because we're used to these big kind of skimmers. Well, this is a nice little small footprint one where, for me, in the back of that Gorgonian, I'm going to take that that bigger hang on the back kind of unit, and I'm going to shove this back in the compartments, right? Because there's more than enough room. But again, just to give you some size, what it looks like. Actually, what I'll do is I will also plug it in to give you an idea of what this thing kind of looks like when it's running, and I'll take some videos for it as well. But again, just kind of a quick hit as far as if you have a small nano tank. Again, it follows the magnetic kind of principle here, so it makes it really nice to install, right? You just take your magnet and you put it on, and life is good. So you got the magnets that are basically going to hold the skimmer to the side of the tank, and that can be a sump, or in my case, it's actually going to be one of those chambers in the back of that nano tank. And what you do is you basically raise it higher or lower to get your wet or your dry kind of skimming. And again, it's just one of those things where it's a cool little skimmer, simple, easy. And again, rather than me talk about it, I'm going to plug it in and show you. And let me wrap it up by saying again, if you're looking for any kind of skimmer, right, supplemental kind of skimming for your tank or permanent skimming, again, you can kind of see how the products line up here. I think that ultimately they do a really good job. And as I said before, Tunze is a company who's good guys, honest guys that won't let you fail. And I'm Russ Kickle, and thanks for watching this episode of American Reef. And again, if you're going to buy something this week, check out my sponsors, right? Bulk Reef Supply, Premium Aquatics, Tunze, and Ecosystems. Again, great guys that deserve a chance to earn your business.